What is your best joke? Three construction workers have lunch together on top of a tall building. The first one opens his lunchbox and goes, "Another tuna sandwich? I eat tuna sandwich every day. If I have to eat another tuna sandwich, I'm going to jump." The second one opens his lunchbox and also goes, "Man, another turkey club sandwich. I can't stand it anymore. If it's the same tomorrow, I'll jump." The third worker opens his lunchbox, sees a meatball sandwich, and like the others he says he'll jump if he has to eat another meatball sandwich. The next day the three men open their lunchboxes. The first one got a tuna sandwich. He writes a goodbye note and jumps. The second got a turkey club and does the same. The third sees he has a meatball sandwich and follows them. At the funeral the wives of the three men meet. The first one weeps and says, "If only I had known, I would have made him something else." The second wife is angry and goes, "He never told me he wanted something else. If he had just talked to me." They notice that the third wife just looks sort of confused, so they ask her what's wrong. She replies, "I just don't get it. He always made his own lunch." Ali met a beautiful girl at a bar in Amsterdam, and so he took her back to his place and they made wild, passionate love. After a solid 45 minutes, he was done. He lay next to her, panting, and asked gently, "Are you finished?" She got a very quizzical look on her face and shook her head. He took a big deep breath and jumped back into action. An hour goes by and he manages, again, to finish off and is lying on top of her this time, barely able to move. He whispered to her, "How about now? Are you finished now?" She looked frustrated this time, sweating and exhausted as she was, and shook her head no again. "No, I'm not," she panted in between breaths. So, being the good sport that he was, and having had the forethought to take his Viagra at the bar, he was functional and got back to it. After 2 more hours of doing his best, he finally popped one more time and couldn't manage anymore and collapsed in a lump on the bed, barely able to breathe. After a few moments he looked at this gorgeous woman he'd partnered with for the night and said, meekly, "Please, tell me you're finished now." The woman rolled her head to the side and in between panting breaths finally said, "God damn it, no Ali. I'm Swedish." There's an old comedy game called 185 where you get a topic and everyone takes turns coming up with bar jokes. The classic example is bananas: 185 bananas walk into a bar. The bartender says, "Sorry, you just missed last call. We're closed." So the bananas split. 185 bananas in prison uniforms walk into a bar. "Wait a second," says the bartender. "Aren't you supposed to be in jail?" The bananas smirk and say, "Yeah, but we got our charges overturned on appeal." And once you've run out of banana jokes, you move on to whatever else. 185 lawyers, tennis rackets, Justin Biebers, Detective Pikachu, Blu-rays, cats, oranges, whatever. Fun test of creativity, especially when people get clever with the prompt. A couple days ago the topic was feet and everyone was going shoe and toe jokes, that sort of thing. And the last person goes, 185 feet walk into a bar and peer around the room expectantly, and then wander out to the beer garden. "Looking for someone?" asks the bartender. "Yeah, we've got a date later," she said, "to meet her in the yard. Hopefully I don't have to wait for long." Half the fun is realizing that just when you think you are out of ideas on a topic, you hadn't even gotten started. Great exercise for wordplay and stand-up writing. It's kind of a long one, but a good one. One day, St. Peter was manning his station at the pearly gates of heaven, denying or allowing people to enter heaven. Eventually, a guy comes up and starts talking to Peter, and Peter says, "Tell me about the day you died." The guy says, "Man, it was terrible. I got off work early to try and catch my wife cheating on me, as I'd expected she was. Well, I got home to my 14th floor apartment and found my wife naked, wet, and in bed. Obviously, she had just been having sex. So I searched all over my 14th floor apartment and couldn't find anyone, so I decided to have a cigarette on my balcony. Lo and behold, I looked down and saw a naked man hanging by his fingertips, and in a rage, I grabbed a hammer and smashed his fingers. Lucky for him, he landed in some bushes and started to scramble out of them. So I went and pushed my fridge off the edge. It landed on him and killed him, but the act gave me a heart attack and I died." Peter let the man in and asked the next guy, "Tell me about the day you died." The second man said, "Man, it was awful. I was in my 15th floor apartment doing acrobatics, but see, I have a better range of motion if I'm naked when I do my acrobatics, but I misjudged a jump and fell out my window and off my balcony. Luckily, I caught myself with just my fingertips on the 14th floor apartment balcony, but then some crazy bastard came out and smashed my fingers with a hammer. I managed to land in some bushes, but as I was trying to get out of the bushes, the mad lad dropped a fridge on me, and I died. Peter chuckles to himself and allows the man entry. Then Peter turns to the next man and says, "Tell me about the day you died." The third man says, "Okay, so get this, I'm hiding in a fridge." A man is driving down the road and breaks down near a monastery. He goes to the monastery, knocks on the door, and says, "My car broke down. Do you think I could stay the night?" The monks graciously accept him, feed him dinner, and even fix his car. As the man tries to fall asleep, he hears a strange sound. The next morning, he asks the monks what the sound was, but they say, "We can't tell you. You're not a monk." The man is disappointed, but thanks them anyway and goes about his merry way. Some years later, the same man breaks down in front of the same monastery. The monks again accept him, feed him, and even fix his car. That night, he hears the same strange noise that he had heard years earlier. The next morning, he asks what it is, but the monks reply, "We can't tell you. You're not a monk." The man says, all right, I'm dying to know. If the only way I can find out what that sound was is to become a monk, how do I become a monk?" The monks reply, "You must travel the earth and tell us how many blades of grass there are and the exact number of sand pebbles. When you find these numbers, you will become a monk." The man sets about his task. Some 45 years later, he returns and knocks on the door of the monastery. He says, "I have traveled the earth and have found what you have asked for. There are 145,236,284,232 blades of grass and 231,281,219,999,129, 382 sand pebbles on the earth." The monks reply, "Congratulations. You are now a monk. We shall now show you the way to the sound." The monks lead the man to a wooden door, where the head monk says, "The sound is right behind that door." The man reaches for the knob, but the door is locked. He says, "Real funny. May I have the key?" The monks give him the key, and he opens the door. Behind the wooden door is another door made of stone. The man demands the key to the stone door. The monks give him the key, and he opens it, only to find a door made of ruby. He demands another key from the monks, who provide it. Behind the door is another door, this one made of sapphire. So it went until the man had gone through doors of emerald, silver, topaz, and amethyst. Finally, the monks say, "This is the last key to the last door." The man is relieved to no end. He unlocks the door, turns the knob, and behind the door he is amazed to find the source of that strange sound. "But I can't tell you what it is because you're not a monk."